Even her fifth husband had died. At this point, it seems that the rumors about her being a witch are not just rumors, Rian thought. She wanted to go back to her room quickly. She was the princess, called the noble and beautiful flower of the empire, at the age of 20. She dreamt of a happy marriage, even though she got married by the order of her father, until her first husband died. Then the second, third, fourth, and fifth were no different. Every time her father angrily stepped forward and captured the culprit, Rian asked if this was again made by the man who was in love with her. Wouldn't he tell her anything about it again? Father replied, yes, he is afraid she will be very surprised when she hears the story. The more this happens, the more she needs to get her head on straight. She'd better hurry up and celebrate her 6th wedding. This time, she should not show that she is living well. Then people won't be able to talk again. Rian asked Father, by any chance, does Her Majesty want that? She thought the age difference between Her Majesty and her was only 3 years. Maybe Her Majesty thinks she is a thorn in her eyes. Father replied, he supposes she misunderstood the Empress. Then he said, Med, and Med came. Father told her it's a relationship of 2 people he cares about, so he will step up and protect her both. Rian thought, relationship? Protect them? What is Father talking about? Med spoke. He still vividly remembered the day Her Highness was born. The entire palace was noisy as if a festival was being held. He was 10 years old. He dared love her for a long time. He won't leave the princess first. He can promise that, Rian said. Father, today is her husband's funeral. She doesn't think this type of conversation is appropriate at her husband's funeral. Also, she is a witch who has already devoured 5 husbands. She thought her father doesn't understand her at all. She just doesn't want to get married, Father stated. This time, he will protect her by herself. He will mobilize the Imperial Knights and the Mohana's army to ensure that no one gets close to her. Rian thought, an army of a Grand Duke, the army of thousands of victors, also called me Spear of God, or the army of demons. If he can move that army, why has he stayed still all this time? Father stated if something goes wrong with Med this time, he will never force her to marry again. Med spoke. She must be confused, understanding perfectly how she feels. That's how she got married for the 6th time. This is the Clausen Alagder. She doesn't know why, but she could not take her eyes off him. Rian replied, thanks, Grand Duke. The next day, as her father had promised, Sir Med greeted the morning without dying. This is the first time she has spent a morning with her husband without him dying. Her father granted the title of Marquis to Baron Med. Then Med spoke. People say that it is never good for the princess if her husband has a lot of titles. His Majesty granted him a mansion and her. Rian thought, why? It's definitely something to be grateful for, but she is not happy about it. Yes, it must simply be because she is tired. After some days, Med came and stated, this is his son. Rian was shocked. Rian asked if this is his son. The color of his hair and eyes are the same as his. Med replied that he understands. He guesses she is mad because he didn't tell her beforehand. His mother was a courtesan. She died a long time ago and was not even a noble. He can't have children anymore. Can't she understand it a little bit? Med received a diagnosis that he wouldn't be able to have children after the wedding. It was due to an injury on the battlefield he suffered a few months ago. Of course, her husband will never have a son from her. Med told her he is trying to register this child in the family history. He needs her permission. Rian thought, how can he ask her about that? So, because of the laws of the empire, she guesses that's why he can't be mad at her. The next day, she wrote a letter to her father and thought, what if her father gets angry and punishes her husband? As a precaution, she consulted with her father, but his answer will be permission. This is how she ended up having an 8-year-old son. At first, she also made an effort to get closer to the child, but he always replied he missed his mom. That's when she realized this child has no intention of accepting her as his mother. One day, Med stated he wants to take the child to his mother. Rian asked what is he talking about. He said Philip's mother had died. He lied to her to welcome the child as if he was hers. Med replied he had no choice or else she would not have accepted him as her son. Rian got that's why he can't accept her as his mother is still alive. Med spoke. Philip keeps searching for his mother again and again. Let him have a separate house so he can see her face from time to time. Rian thought, what does this man think of her? Rian stated she is going to send a letter to her father. Med replied he has already obtained his permission beforehand. Rian thought, he has given him permission. Why? Once again, her father was not on her side. Xenia, who used to be a courtesan, entered the mansion and owned the annex. She acted like she was the count's wife, but Rian could not stop her. It was because her mental illness began to affect her physical health. It's too hard. She wishes she could fall asleep so she would never wake up again. But there was still something much more frightening to face. Rian asked why is he here again. Med replied there is nowhere he can't go in this mansion. Anyway, why doesn't she go south to recover? Rian replied so that woman wanted to be the lady of this mansion, and even wants to claim the main residence now. Med replied Xenia is doing it because she is sick and can't do it herself. Stop blaming her, so she wants to hear that their family fell because of her. Rian stated let's get divorced. Med was shocked. After announcing the divorce, she felt at peace, and her health improved day by day, and the frequency of Med's visits increased. She has humiliated him so many times, despite all that he kept showing up unannounced everywhere. He must be afraid of divorce. He will be stripped of his noble title. Even the status of his illegitimate child would be taken away. But it's already too late. She has already made her decision. The next scene, Med spoke. He guesses he can't expect his apology to be accepted in just a week. He will work harder to reflect on his mistakes of the last 3 years. Rian replied there is no need. Nothing he does will change her mind. Rian thought there were days when she gave in to his kindness for a moment. But was that love? Suddenly, blood came from her mouth, Med stated. Do she remember what he told her that divorce is a death sentence? Divorce is not an option. Otherwise, Philip would once again be the son of a prostitute. Then why has he endured so much if it would be like that? Rian replied her father finds out about this. Med stated, does she still believe in him? Had she never doubted the situation until her 5th husband died? It seems like she has no idea, so she'd better die here. A stupid woman like her would get out of here. But it's the last time, so listen carefully. She was just a tool that the emperor raised carefully. A way to deal with political opponents who opposed the emperor to satisfy the emperor's greed. Her 5 husbands were from the anti-emperor faction, and he needed her identity, so because of Philip, just in time His Majesty's interest and his work aligned. It was when her mother died poisoned in His Majesty's place, he decided to use his majestic growing suspicion to eliminate the anti-emperor section by using her. It would have been better if they had taken care of Grand Duke, but thanks to her, Rian's 5th husband's troops are in their hand, so the Grand Duke will soon disappear as well. Good job, Rian. He would like to give her more details, but it seems like she is out of time. Still, he gave her the freedom she longed for. Rian thought if he had been a little more cautious, if she had at least a little doubt, would anything have changed? Rian opened her eyes and thought, what, this room, to be exact. The mansion that collapsed and disappeared 3 years ago. This is her 5th husband's room. Was it just a dream, or why is she here? Now, the maid came and told her it's time to go down to the funeral. Rian thought the girl who felt sad on her death at the end. She asked where they are. Nal replied at the Barrymount mansion. Rian asked if today is the funeral of the Viscount. The maid replied yes, Princess. Rian thought as expected she went back to the past. Then she started laughing. The maid thought, what's going on? After some time, Rian thought familiar clothes, suffocating atmosphere. It's not strange. The reception room is the same. More than that, why did she come back? Yes, Med told her she is a tool, and he poisoned her, so he will come soon. The next moment, the Emperor came. Rian thought there is no difference from her memories. The Emperor and Med behind him. Her father is a heartless man who took advantage of the aristocrat's desire to possess her, a member of the imperial family. The Emperor stated she'd better hurry up to her 6th wedding. Rian thought what did she expect? This is the reality. if she really went back to the past. This is an opportunity, a chance to correct her life and get revenge. Rian replied to His Majesty, she will not marry. Emperor asked, what? Rian replied, of course, she is not saying she won't do it at all. She is saying she won't do it now. Her husband's funeral is not over yet. She doesn't think it's reasonable to talk about her coming marriage at her husband's funeral. Please help her maintain her principles. Rian thought he would think it's weird because his obedient princess doesn't listen to him anymore. The emperor asked, she must have a bad time. How much time does he have to give her? Rian replied, give her a month, that would be enough to honor the dead person. The next scene, the emperor asked, didn't Rian look strange today? She seems a little more quiet than normal. Then he thought she is usually obedient. She has never refused his request. Someone must have approached her on purpose. Then he asked, is there no new oracles in the temple? Med replied, the temple has been quite lately. Then he thought on the day of Rian's birth an oracle came down to the temple. The first to fall to the ground will cause a fire, an oracle that the emperor fears so much. That maid is here to shake hands with the empress because she is jealous of the imperial princess. That's how women are. On the other hand, Rian thought the first thing she has to change in a month is the marriage with Med. All the wealth obtained from the 5 marriages has gone to the emperor's personal safe. If she sells accessories, His Majesty will be reported about it. She has to find someone who can't even compare to Med, who killed her 5 husbands, a person who is desperate for something, only he can help her. After that, the Grand Duke spoke. He was an acquaintance of Viscount, the emperor replied. So that's how it is, since he is out of his territory, rest well and go home. Also he has a favor to ask. Rian woke up and thought it was a dream. She ran into him on the way to the bedroom. The Grand Duke headed to protect Med and her on the first night. She thinks she knows why his eyes were cold as he looked at her. The last day of the funeral, Rian thought the people who would come are already here, except one person. So there he is, the Grand Duke asked, what's going on? Rian replied, she needs to speak with the Grand Duke. Could he give her a moment for his time? The Duke spoke, go ahead. Rian stated she has to ask him a favor. The Duke replied, a favor. He wonders if the princess who has everything needs his help. Rian thought this is a clear threat, but she can't stop here. Rian spoke, please make her the Grand Duchess. The Duke stated he will pretend he did not hear it. She must be shocked by the loss of her husband. Otherwise, she should not propose to another man at the funeral of her husband. Rian thought he took it as a proposal. It was an offer, but she supposed he could have misunderstood it. She is sure he finds the situation ridiculous, but he can't be more stunned than she is. Rian spoke, Grand Duke. Then Duke stated he will take his leave now. Rian replied she has not finished talking. Duke stated, pardon him for saying so. But does he wish her to become her 6th dead husband? If not, then this conversation is over. Rian thought she is not surprised. He is reacting this way. She heard that the Grand Duke is a straight shooter, and they say he hates the imperial family. This won't be easy. If he did accept so easily, he would have been suspicious of his motive. She still has time. The next scene, Rian stated to Nal, she needs to visit the safe. She is sure there are some of Viscount's assets left that haven't yet been confiscated by the palace. She plans to keep Viscount's assets for herself. Nal thought to herself, it didn't look like the princess needed money, because His Majesty took care of everything for her, although she did not want for anything. None of these things belonged to the princess, but things are changing now. Nal asked what can she do to help. Rian thought about the Viscount's army. Although he was only a Viscount, he secretly built a huge military force. Did the Emperor and Med find out about it? She thought she had plenty of time, but she has so much to do. On the other hand, Duke asked if the Emperor is here. The knight replied he was told that the Emperor returned to the palace immediately. Duke thought His Majesty told him he had a lot to discuss with him, but he turned to the palace without a word. Did something happen? After some time, a noble person asked His Grace if something really happened in there. He seemed more displeased than before he went in. Duke replied nothing happened. The only one inside was the widow mourning her late husband. Duke thought her sadness must have been so great that it caused her to lose her mind a little. No, she didn't look crazy at all. Then Med came and told him he has a message from His Majesty for him. There is going to be an important imperial wedding in a month from now. The Emperor has ordered the Mohane's army to protect the bride and groom on their wedding night. It will be the first princess's wedding. Grand Duke replied, in 4 days, the heart of the Belgor's forest will open. If the Mohane's army doesn't return, who will stop all the monsters? Med asked, is he saying there is no other man in Mohane's who can stop monsters but him? Duke replied, yes, that's correct. He is the only one in Mohane's who can deal with these monsters, as hard as it is to believe. Med spoke. He must realize how upset the Emperor will become if the first princess's 6th husband is found dead too, asking him to stay just another month. Duke replied, that's not possible. Then he told Valen, Sir Med is leaving. Please escort him outside. On the other side, Rian stated they did well to find her this. Then she thought she is under the special. This morning, new guards and attendants from the palace arrived. They claimed that name to take care of her. She is certain they are here to spy on her. After that, Nal told her not to worry too much. She heard that the new people who arrived planned to have a welcome party last night, so she sent some alcohol. She also added sleeping pills to it, and they drank plenty, so they should be asleep until they return. After some time, Rian told Nal to wait for her here. Nal asked, but she's going to go alone, and it's too dangerous. Rian replied, no, it will be even more dangerous if there are 2 of them. Nal told her, Princess, if she insists, then please take this. She coated the dagger with a paralyzing toxin. After that, Rian thought, that voice, this is Med. When he came to the funeral with the Emperor, she ignored him. She was afraid that if she faced him, she would not be able to stop herself from stabbing him with a knife. She wanted to kill that bastard right now. She should use this dagger. Suddenly, Duke grabbed her and asked, Princess, what does she think she is doing? The knights are well armed. How could she enter recklessly like this in such a suspicious outfit? If they saw her as an enemy, she would have died. Rian replied, would he believe her if she said there is something worse than death? If she can't convince him to help her, she is dead anyway, whether she dies in the Viscount Manor, or while being dragged back to the palace, or in this inn, it would not make much of a difference to her. Duke asked, so what brings her to this dangerous place? Rian replied, he must save her. Duke asked if she's threatening him with her own life. Rian replied, will her threat work on him? Duke spoke about her 5 husbands, and now she is saying it's his turn. Is this the Emperor's order? Rian replied, no, she came here of her own free will. Duke said he doesn't care. He heard that her 6th wedding is to take place in a month. Rian thought she can't even imagine what he must think of her. That idiot Med and Emperor, they are all crazy. Then she said she doesn't plan on marrying Sir Med. Duke asked if her groom is to be Sir Med. Rian thought so Med did not tell him who she was forced to marry. She guesses Med planned on revealing the truth on the wedding day. It would have made him feel superior. He is disgusting. Rian said, that's right. In a month she is to be married to Sir Med. Unless he takes her as his wife. Duke asked about that nonsense again. Rian replied she can help Mohanes become independent. Duke asked if she believes that the Ojagar family is not capable of becoming independent on its own. Rian replied, no, that's not what she meant at all. Then she thought, but that's the truth. Even by the time of her death in her last life, Mohanes had failed to become independent. Rian continued, but what if he can become independent much sooner, in 3 years? Let her be his Grand Duchess for 3 years. If he does, she will help him become independent. And of course, she will leave his territory after 3 years. Duke asked why she needed to be his Grand Duchess. He cannot take someone on as the lady of his household unless he trusts her. Rian thought the Grand Duke isn't someone who would fall for life. Then she said she doesn't want to live as the Emperor's puppet anymore. After some time, Duke thought she even brought a carriage to return home in. Then he thought she'll tell him if he wishes she will even help get the marriage annulled. She won't touch his wealth, and she will never do anything to tarnish his family's reputation. She came here without a guard even though she knew this was a dangerous place. She risked her life to come here. Then he asked, "What kind of person is the first princess?" Jarrett replied, "She is the treasured doll of the emperor. She has led quite a sheltered life. However, it's strange how all 5 of her husbands were nobles who were against the imperial family. He is sure it was not a coincidence." Duke said he heard her 6th wedding will take place in 1 month. Jarrett replied, "Unbelievable. How could she be married 6 times in less than a year? But only the biggest fool would willingly marry the princess at this point." Duke told her she is being told that Sir Med is to be her 6th husband. Jarrett asked, "But isn't Sir Med the emperor's aide? This is certainly very strange." Then, in the carriage, Nal asked how her business went. Rian replied she thinks it will work out well. Then Rian thought something's wrong, so they know she is not there. Rian shouted, "Take this document and bring it back to the inn. Deliver it to the Grand Duke." Nal asked, "What about her?" Rian replied she can't go. If she doesn't return home now, the emperor will search the entire empire to find her and drag her back to the palace. If they take away this document, it will be all for nothing. The princess's life is in her hands now. After some time, Jarrett said His Grace a visitor has arrived. It's the same woman that came earlier. She claims to be the princess's maid. He saw her with the princess in the carriage earlier, so he doesn't think she is lying. Nal said she was ordered to deliver this to him. On the other hand, Rian thought she should have fooled the emperor better. She should have been sneakier and more cautious. This was inevitable. She needs to stop blaming herself. This isn't over yet. Med came, and Rian thought he is sitting right next to her, but she needs to endure it. She still doesn't have anything yet. Med asked if he heard she left her residence last night. Rian also asked if he was spying on her. Med replied he had not realized that she would see being protected as being spied on. They have just been cautious. They are trying to protect her from every kind of danger. Rian spoke, saying it sounds like she has made the emperor worry. Med told her he was so worried that he did not get any sleep last night. Rian thought she is sure it wasn't concern but rather anger that prevented him from getting any sleep. Rian stated, she thought she was free to do whatever she wished until she returned to the palace. Do he think the emperor is very angry? Med put in a good word for her. When he arrives, please do not upset him any further. By the way, he heard she did not take her medicine for a week while she was at the Viscount Manor. He thought he told her not to skip. Rian thought about this medicine. It's something Med made sure to give her every day. Whenever she drank this medicine, the complicated thoughts and worries disappeared from her head for a while. Suddenly, Rian gets unconscious. After some time, Rian woke up and thought did she faint. Then she said, "Persistent bastard." She wonders what this medicine is. It might be a sedative just as Med said, but it might also be a plot to deteriorate her health. Maybe it's a poison. Why did she never question it? She guessed she really was just a doll. The next scene, the emperor came and asked where did she go last night. Rian replied she wanted to enjoy her freedom and make good memories before she got married again. But as he knows, a widow isn't supposed to be out and about, so she had no choice but to sneak out in secret. The emperor asked if he heard she didn't take her medicine while staying in the Viscount residence. That's why she had such a disloyal idea. Rian replied she is sorry. She will never skip her medicine again. The emperor stated he will forgive her since she has learned her lesson. He thinks he should get her married sooner to help her settle down. Rian thought the emperor is acting like her 6th marriage is his life mission. Then she spoke that the month he promised her has not passed yet, so she would like to return to the Viscount mansion. The emperor stated, "What did she just say? When did she learn to argue with him like this?" If she had been obedient, she would have gotten the month to herself, but it was her who broke his trust first. Rian thought about trust. He broke her trust. He lied to her entire life, so she doesn't have the right to say that to her. He may have been raised as if she was just an object, but how could he not feel an ounce of affection toward his own daughter? She has been foolish and pathetic. The emperor stated he will call the doctor, and daughter, she must remember, she is the princess, and he understands her desire for freedom, but as a princess, she must not let such emotions get control over her. Tell him that she will obey him, promise him that she will follow his orders and get married again just like he has always done. On the other side of the door, the maid spoke, His Majesty, there is Grand Duke who has arrived to request an audience with him. Emperor asked what brings him here. This is the first time he have come to visit him without being ordered. The Duke replied he wishes to see the first princess, he would like him to bring her here. The Emperor stated that will not be possible, she is a widow. The Duke stated there is something he must tell the princess regarding Mohanes. The Emperor thought if he refused his request now, he will leave right away. The Emperor said, bring the princess here. Rian spoke, greetings, His Highness, she hasn't seen him since the funeral, His Grace. The Duke replied, indeed, then he thought, a wound. The Emperor asked now that his daughter is here. What is it about Mohanes that he wanted to discuss? The Duke stated firstly there is something he needs to give him. Then the scene changed. The Empress asked if the princess is at the Imperial Palace, since when? The maid replied she was told that the Emperor brought her back in a hurry early this morning. The Empress said His Majesty's paranoia must be directed at the princess now. By the way, she has not been able to get in contact with her brother for several days now. Send a message asking him to visit her quarters without delay. Another maid came and told her, Grand Duke is apparently having a private meeting with His Majesty at the moment. The Empress was happy that he is here. Maid tell her Duke give his proposal. Empress was shocked. Back at the meeting, the Duke stated it's a marriage proposal. House Elegator and all of its vassals protect Mohanes. Hereby, he requests the honor of having the first princess as the new Grand Duchess. The Emperor thought Elegator is a key member of the anti-imperial group. If he could get him to marry Rian, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to use Rian to dig up the secret of Mohanes. The Emperor stated as he knows, her daughter's wedding has already been planned to take place in 3 weeks. The Duke replied he has informed his aide that he cannot obey his orders, because the heart of the forest will be opening soon. The Emperor thought if the monsters that appear there are not stopped, they will escape Mohanes and storm into the capital city. The Duke continued if he accepts this proposal, he plans to take differences with him in 4 days, of course only if the princess will have him. The Emperor stated he has never seen him covet a woman before, however, a marriage is not something that can be decided easily. Please give his daughter and him some privacy so they can talk. After that, the Emperor told her he will cancel her wedding that was to take place in 3 weeks. He will also forgive her for leaving the Viscount Manor in secret, but she must accept the Grand Duke's proposal. He knows she is worried, but they are talking about Grand Duke here. He swears that Grand Duke won't die on her wedding night like others. If he dies, he will also allow her to live the rest of her life freely. Trust her father one last time. Rian thought she believed his words the last time as well. Rian spoke, yes, father, she will do as he asks, but she has one condition. Rian thought last night, she asked him to come to the palace in person with a marriage proposal. She thinks it would be better if everyone believed that he wants her. The Emperor won't send away his daughter to Mohanes if he thinks she is in love with him because he believes he won't be able to control her. Rian thought it was a rude request, and her plan would have still worked if he had sent one office man to deliver the marriage proposal. But he came in person. This is beyond her expectations. Rian spoke, he needs information. She will bring the information he needs. In return, please allow her to manage her own wealth from now on. The Emperor asked, what is she saying? Rian replied, as he knows, she gained nothing from her previous marriages. She is going to be the princess who moves to a faraway land with no money to her name. So please promise her that he won't interfere with her personal wealth. He needs to allow her at least this much in order for her to risk her life. The Emperor thought she has changed. There is no doubt the princess has changed, but it's too late to do anything about it now. Rian spoke. He promised to give her a dowry. He can consider the Viscount assets as her dowry. She will try her best not to disappoint him. After that, back to the meeting. Emperor asked in return for counseling her prearranged 6th wedding and permitting him to marry her. What is he willing to do for him? Rian thought. Greedy old man. The Grand Duke's land doesn't make much profit, so what is he trying to take? The Duke stated, as long as he returns to Mohanes, he will send him 200 boxes of gold, 300 silver wolf hides, and 200 bear hides red from the Belgor's forest. Rian thought 1 box of gold is enough for a mid-level nobleman to live for a year, and a single silver wolf hide is worth much more than a box of gold, and a red bear hide must be worth even more in a place like Mohanes where it's cold all year round. The Emperor replied, "All right." Duke asked, "Then can he talk to the princess in private for a moment?" Emperor replied, "Of course." After some time, Duke asked, "Why is she not saying anything? Isn't this what she wanted?" Rian replied he went too far. Even though it was more than enough that he came here in person, he even mentioned his family, vassals, and Mohanes in his proposal. Thanks to him, she was able to get what she wanted very easily. She already discussed this with the Emperor, so he can accept it without worry. It's useless in her hands anyway. Duke replied he will come back again tomorrow. Rian thought she is sure she won't die by then. After all, the Emperor won't make a move against her this time. But Med is the problem. She is sure he has received the news by now. Nal spoke, "Her Highness, the aide is waiting inside. He looked very unhappy, so perhaps she should avoid him." Rian stated, "No, open the door," she thought. "Avoid him, she has been waiting for this moment." Rian asked Sir Med if he had something to tell her. She would like him to do it quickly and leave. Rian thought she is not in Mohanes yet, so she still can't let her guard down, but she doesn't have to fear Med anymore. She just needs to watch out for anything unexpected. Med asked if she knew who her 6th groom was supposed to be. It was him. Rian replied, "Really? So what? Why is he telling her this? Even if she were to know that he were to be her husband, did he expect her to disobey her father and insist on marrying him?" Med asked if she didn't wish to go to Mohanes, he would help her. Rian replied, "Who said that she didn't want to go to Mohanes? He is going to marry her. There will not be a 7th marriage for her, certainly not in this life. Nor if she is born again and meets him in her next life, she would rather die than marry him." Med shouted. Rian replied, "Sir Med, please take care." After that, Nal asked if she would be okay. "Sir Med is a bit scary," Rian said. "Yes, he is a scary man indeed." Then she thought, he is scary enough to destroy a woman's life by manipulating the Emperor of the Empire. But he wasn't brave enough to ever disturb the Emperor's order. If he was able to do that, he would have rebelled by now. Rian asked if she said her younger sibling studies medical herbs. Then she thought Med was very interested in studying poisonous and medicinal herbs. That was how he received the Emperor's support to create new medicine and thereby gained his wealth. Rian said, "This medicine, she has a favor to ask. She would like her to find out what is in this medicine. The Emperor will be sending her new attendants. It will be hectic tomorrow, so no one will notice if she is gone for a little time." On the other hand, all of them were shocked to hear that the Duke and Princess are going to marry. Jarrett asked, "But His Grace, didn't he say that the Princess is to marry the Emperor's aide? So this is why the Princess visited him in secret last night?" Duke replied, "He knows this is a surprise for them all, but it doesn't change the fact that the Princess is going to be their new Grand Duchess. They will return to Mohanes as soon as the Princess arrives, so make all the preparations." Jarrett said, he knows that Duke doesn't believe the rumors. However, he is worried that it might not be the same for the knights or the citizens of Mohanes. Duke replied, "In the end, rumors will vanish when the truth comes out, and judging by her attitude, it seems like the Princess is also coming fully prepared." Jarrett said the Grand Duchess will need some things when she arrives, so he will send a message to Lord Chenka. "What about the wedding gift for the bride?" Jarrett asked. Duke replied, "A gift, so he better visit Lisha then." The next scene, jewelry shop owner Lisha welcomes the Duke, and told him to please have a look around and select whatever he likes. The Duke thought, what is he doing right now? He think he should just leave. Lisha asked, "Do he like that piece? It's a gift, isn't it? She will wrap it up for him." The Duke asked if she knew any clinic nearby. Lisha asked, "Medicine for what?" The Duke replied, A small cut on the lips and a swollen cheek. He could not tell if there was an injury inside the mouth, though Lisha told him she had emergency medicine for something like that. At night, Rian asked what brought him here. Why did he come so late at night? What if the Emperor found out? The Duke replied, "Don't worry. His Majesty gave me permission to visit her." Rian thought she knew Emperor was greedy for the information, but he allowed a man to visit his daughter at such a late hour. Then she asked him to tell her why he was here. Was there a problem? The Duke replied he came to give her this. It's a hairpin, the color of her eyes. He reached for it the moment he saw it because it reminded him of her eyes. He thought it would suit her golden hair as well. Rian thought, what should she do? She could tell that he didn't mean anything by it, but she was afraid she might misunderstand his intentions. She replied, she like it, she will treasure it. And what is this? The Duke stated it's an ointment for her injury. Apply it once in the morning and once before bed. He was told that if applied twice daily like that, it would promote fast healing. Rian thought he was worried about her injury. She replied, thanks. The Duke told her to please apply it now. He will leave after he has confirmed that she has done so. Rian thought this is strange. He came in the middle of the night. Is she being old-fashioned, or is the Grand Duke treating her too familiarly? She said thanks for both the hairpin and the medicine. The Duke told her the ointment was not spread evenly. Rian thought the atmosphere has changed. Then she said she had something to give him too. The Duke asked, this is a contract? Rian replied, yes, since our marriage is not a conventional one, but she purposefully didn't put the word contract on it. They should have an out in case it ever gets leaked to the public. The Duke stated, this is odd. There appear to be a lot of clauses that are disadvantageous to her. Then she thought the contract states that after 3 years of marriage, she will leave everything behind and disappear quietly. She is drawing it up to ease her guilt this way. Then she said, this will make her feel better, so would he mind agreeing to it? Duke stated she wrote the period of 3 years in the first article, so he thinks it's safe to assume that this is a contract marriage. Since she has already mentioned the 3-year period verbally, he doesn't think it's necessary to write it in the contract, so he will erase that part. Rian asked what he would do if she doesn't leave after 3 years. Duke replied he will think of something else. What does she mean by the 7th article that states they will not interfere with each other's personal life? Rian thought he might bring a mistress into his home like Med did. It's possible that a child like Philip appears as well. If she hadn't returned in the contract, it wouldn't be such a shock when it really happened. Rian said she doesn't want his vassals to trouble him regarding the topic of his heir because of her. Duke stated, do she think so little of her, and she doesn't have to worry about his vassals either. He will erase this article too. So, the other article states that she will be forbidden from taking possession of anything that belongs to House Ojagar. Does this mean she will give up the right to use not only his name, but also the power that comes with the position? Rian thought she was in such a hurry making this contract that she missed that. Yes, Grand Duke is right. If she can't have anything from his house, she won't be able to do anything as the Grand Duchess. Duke stated it seems like this article is unnecessary as well. If she wishes to play the role of his Grand Duchess and complete the appropriate duties, she must willingly take the power that comes with this position. Rian thought he is referring not only to being part of the house, but also to the position of Grand Duchess itself. This is a heavy burden. Now only the standard articles are left. Is this even a contract marriage anymore? Duke said he thinks it would be best for him to keep this contract. Just forget about the existence of this contract for now and do her best to play the role. Rian thought what just happened. They discussed the contract and signed it, and she also received a gift. It's pretty. This is the first thing she has ever owned outright. The next day, Rian thought it's the dress she wore when she entered Med's house. Then she said, throw that dress away. Make sure it doesn't get mixed into her luggage. She will go with this one. And good, she left off all the other adornments and just wore this in her hair. Rian thought she looked so different from when she married Med. She now has the face of someone who wants to live and has a clear goal and objective. The fact that Duke remembered the color of her eyes must mean he is more sensitive than she thought. She prays that she will never have to return to this place again. Outside the palace, Duke stated in Mohanes, the groom traditionally comes to greet the bride. It may be in the imperial palace, but it doesn't change the fact that she is the new bride of Lord Mohanes. Rian thought this is just the beginning. After tonight, she will be the Grand Duchess of Ojagar instead of the Princess of the Empire. After some time, Rian thought the bridal chamber is different from the one she had with Med. It's filled with items that wish happiness for newlyweds. No matter how many times she does this, she can't help but be anxious. Duke thought she is nervous, then he said he has entered countless battles, but he still gets nervous every time. No one has the right to battle someone who stands on a new battlefield every time. Rian thought, is he trying to comfort her? She is not as nervous. Duke asked if she would like a glass of wine. Rian replied she will make sure he doesn't regret this. Then she said, "It's hot. It's so hot here." Rian thought she feels frustrated. The next morning, Rian thought, when did she fall asleep? Then she shouted, "Duke." The Duke spoke. "He is here." Rian asked, "His Grace, he's alive? He's really alive?" Rian thought she was afraid that when she opened her eyes, there would be sixth corpse lying nude to her. Duke asked if she had a nightmare. Rian replied, "No." Duke asked, then were she worried about him, that he might have died right next to her? Rian replied, but he refused to be the sixth corpse. Duke spoke. At the time, he thought she would give up if he said that, and besides, she knew it, he would not die, that's why she chose him. He will go visit the Emperor and get her official authorization as the new Grand Duchess. Rian asked if she should go with him. Duke replied, no, he think it's best if she don't leave the bedroom. After all, a bride who just spent her wedding night with her husband would not be able to walk around easily. Rian replied, all right, she understands. Then she thought at night. Rian said, they are in a bedroom, and it's nighttime. It's a bridal chamber after all. Promise her don't die. Stay alive until the morning. He must live in order for her to survive too. Next scene, Nal shouted that she needed to go inside right now. Valen said, they are asleep. Nal told him, but seriously, she is the princess's personal maid. This is urgent. Rian stated, Sir Valen, it's okay for Nal to enter. They have something to discuss. So could he give them some privacy? Valen replied, all right, he will wait outside the door, Grand Duchess. Rian thought he addressed her as the Grand Duchess despite the rumors about her. He is accepting her as the Grand Duchess. After that, Nal told her the master of the Mage's Tower came to the academy, so it took her a long time to sneak out. Rian asked the master, but she heard he refused to come out of the Mage's Tower. Nal replied yes, so she was shocked when he came to the academy so suddenly. Rian asked about the medicine. Nal replied, her sibling could not find out what substances it contained right away. Apparently, it contains several substances, so it will take some time to identify them all. Rian told her she will tell the academy that when her sibling's message arrives, it should get sent to Mohanes immediately. After that, Nal asked if the princess asked if she could go out for a short stroll. Valen replied, the Grand Duchess can do anything, as long as it does not go against the orders of the Grand Duke. Rian thought there is no one here, none of the soldiers that used to guard her door, nor the attendants sent by the Emperor. The freedom is the difference between being the Emperor's puppet and the officially acknowledged Grand Duchess. The next scene, Lord Chenka said, greetings, Grand Duchess, he is Chenka, the head of House Ojagar's merchant group. Rian thought, so this is the infamous House Ojagar's head of merchant. Then she asked, what brings him here? Chenka replied, he was on his way back home after delivering some goods to the Emperor. Since His Majesty's aide is interested in medical herbs, he makes a good client. Rian thought, so Med has been getting his herbs through Ojagar's merchant group, but he hates this house, yet he is using its merchant group. Chenka said he wanted to see her because he was to give her this. Rian asked, what is this? She doesn't think this is a ruby. Chenka replied, this is a magical stone that holds the power of fire. Mohanes is going to be colder than she imagines. Things can happen in that place that might require more than a strong will and determination to survive. Rian said, thanks. Then she thought, did she see something just now? Chenka stated, when they live a long time, they get to see things that are invisible to others. When Chenka left, Rian asked, "What kind of person is he?" Valen replied, "Lord Chenka is a member of the Raholton tribe, which is a group famous for having long lifespans. Even they do not know the exact age of him, but they were told that Lord serves the last 2 Grand Dukes." Rian thought, what a mysterious man. On the other hand, people are chatting that the witch got married again. This is crazy. He supposed the new groom is going to be found dead again. They heard she summons young men every night to enjoy their bodies to keep youth. Duke spoke. "The source of the rumors is too detailed, and its content is too malicious." Jarrett replied, "Yes, he suspects that it was spread intentionally. The crime of spreading rumors about the imperial family could get immediate punishment. Yet it seems that they are not afraid of the punishment. Based on the current situation, it's possible that someone in the Emperor's circle spread this rumor." Duke asked. "First, he must find the source of this rumor. He thinks he needs to get back as quickly as possible. How are the horses?" Jarrett replied, "They were not in good condition, and when he looked around, he saw poison mixed into the hay. The stablekeeper is also found dead." Duke stated, "It sounds like the Emperor's supporters are taking actions, gets the preparations by tomorrow morning." Then he thought, too much time has passed for them to find the source of this rumor, so that she won't be hurt by these filthy rumors from now on. He prays that Mohanes, an isolated place, will become her sanctuary. In the next scene, Duke asked, "Is she hurt?" Who allowed an imperial family member to be injured. He did not hear any reports about this. Rian replied, "She told Valen not to tell him. It's not that bad, not again." Duke stated, "How could she think this isn't bad? The imperial doctor exists to treat even the smallest injury." Rian replied, "She understands, so please stop scolding her." Duke asked, "Did it sound like he was scolding her?" Rian replied, "Yes, he seems angry." Duke told her, "But he had no intention of scolding her. How did she get hurt?" Rian replied, "She fell." Then she thought, "It isn't a lie, and he will find out the truth soon enough. But she doesn't want to tell him with her own mouth right now." Duke asked, "Does it have anything to do with Sir Med?" Rian smiled and replied, "He is sharp, but she doesn't want to bring trouble to House Elegator. Sir Valen has done more than enough. In fact, she is afraid that the Emperor's anger might be directed at Sir Valen." Rian thought, the Emperor would not care one bit about his aide insulting his daughter. But if a knight put his hand on an aide, His Majesty would consider it a challenge to his reign. Rian spoke, "They just got married, so she doesn't want people to start spreading rumors that she has seduced the Emperor's aide. Do he think people will take her side if this incident becomes public? He has no idea how a small incident can create such a huge rumor. She just doesn't want any more rumors like that to follow her." Duke replied, "They are almost ready to return to Mohanes. There is something he wants to give her before they leave. He should have given it to her in the morning. He apologizes. Please open it." Rian thought she can guess what this must be. He officially announced the marriage of the Grand Duke and the Princess. Rian thought it's just a short sentence. Took one step away from those who drove her to her death. She is finally able to leave this palace. Rian asked, "She has one more favor to ask. She would like him to find Vane's Altair for her." Rian thought Med did not regard her as a person. He had her sit next to him to show off. Even when exchanging important information with his friends, she also had a chance to glance at important letters in passing. "It's time for her to steal his future glory and use it against him," Duke replied. "It's all right, he will always support her decisions. If she feel that it is necessary, that's all he need to know." Rian thought he might refuse since this involves the security of Mohanes. If one of her decisions turns out wrong, she needs to be cautious. Rian stated, "Vanas is an engineer. He is already knowledgeable in the field of agriculture. He know Mohanes doesn't have the climate for farming. That's why they need him even more." Duke thought the princess was supposed to be the Emperor's obedient puppet. He heard she had no interest in politics. The next day, Duke asked, "How is her ankle?" Rian replied, "It's much better," Duke said. "Then let's go to Mohanes." In the next scene, Rian was shocked to see Vanes there. She said she didn't have time to explain in detail. She would provide him with unlimited materials and funds for his research. Would he come to Mohanes with them and work for House Ojagar? His invention would help many people living difficult lives there. He would be able to save many lives too. Vanes apologized, but he couldn't go. Rian asked why he couldn't go to Mohanes. Vanes replied he had a fiancée. She needs him, so he must stay with her. Rian asked if they could take his fiancée with them too. The territory of Mohanes does not allow just anyone in, but they need his incredible talent. Vanes replied, "Thanks." Could he discuss this with his fiancée, and could his son come with them too? Rian replied, "Of course. She will make preparations so that they can settle down easily." After that, Rian thought this would work out, but what if Vanes's fiancée refused to come? Or if Med contacted him before they received an answer? She wondered what Med was doing right now. On the other hand, Med thought he wouldn't even consider forgiving. 1 hour ago Rian spoke, "Please leave, she is a married woman." Even though he may be the Emperor's aide, she still felt uncomfortable talking to him. She hoped he would never come to her so suddenly like this again. Med grabbed her hand and tried to slap her. Valen intervened and slapped Med. Rian fell on the ground. Now Med thought he was sure Duke ordered his stupid knight to do this. He couldn't believe he ended up looking so foolish in front of the princess. He was going to tell the Emperor first thing tomorrow and get him beheaded. Duke came and said he was sure losing the use of one of his hands wouldn't affect his ability to work as an aide. Med replied that His Majesty wouldn't let him get away with this. Duke asked if His Majesty would take the side of the Lord of Mohanes or him, a mere aide. Med thought, of course, he would take Duke's side. Then Duke stated he would let him keep his physical form. The next moment, Med was on the ground. Duke continued, saying if the story about what happened today with the Grand Duchess got leaked, the next time it wouldn't be just his wrist. After that, Valen said the Grand Duchess was injured because he was not fast enough. He had no excuse. Duke replied that as soon as they returned, he would lose 3 months of his salary. He would be required to run 300 laps every morning for 3 months. He would give him his revolver afterward. From now on, if anyone harms the Grand Duchess, kill him immediately. Now, in the present time, Valen said, His Grace, there are 9 corpses on the ground. Duke replied, there were 13 of them. Find the rest and kill them. They were assassins heading toward our campsite. When they find them, cut off their legs first. They don't want to put the Grand Duchess in danger. It would be best to send a scouting party ahead to clean up the path. Valen told him the poison these assassins had was different from the one sent by the Emperor's men. Duke replied he was not surprised. They were sent by the Empress after all. On the other hand, the servant spoke, but there was no reply. Empress Sheila stated, so there was no answer again this time, and ordered to cut off the tongue of the servant who could not bring her a reply. Empress Sheila was born as the eldest daughter of the prestigious house. She was raised to become the next empress, and everyone expected her to take the position, so she never imagined herself becoming anyone other than the empress. At least not until that day, when she saw Grand Duke. She asked her father to please send a marriage proposal to House Ojagar. Her father shouted that he didn't want to hear it. She would soon become the empress, so did she really expect him to send her to the cursed land? After that, she begged her maid to deliver the letter to him. She wrote this love letter because she wanted him to at least know how she felt. Duke received the letter and replied, "Here, take this to her mistress." When she read the letter, she never spoke again. Her maid thought that she had lost the ability to speak. Then she told her, "Don't worry, lady, the Grand Duke has no interest in anyone. She is certain he will never feel anything for anyone. She is the only one who will be remembered by him." One day, she heard the news that Duke brought a marriage proposal. Empress Sheila said, "So he brought a marriage proposal." Her maid replied, "Her Majesty, he will find out more about it." Empress Sheila stated, "There is no need. Contact Runwell. He is the messenger of the group of assassins." Empress Sheila thought he brought a marriage proposal without being ordered by the Emperor. For whom? The princesses are all unattractive, too old, or too young. She heard that some of them even have physical or mental flaws. Whoever she is, she won't let her get away with this. She could not have him, which means no other women can have him either. Back at Duke's side, knights are chatting. At first, they could not believe that the Grand Duke really married the princess. He had never shown any interest in women before, and now they knew it was because he had such high standards. The other one replied, "Those vassals who wanted to get their daughters married to him must be devastated." Jared asked, "But are they not bothered by this? He is sure they have heard the rumors about the first princess." All of them replied, "The Grand Duke is not a foolish man. If these rumors are true, then they are sure he would not have taken her as his wife, no matter how beautiful she is." Jarrett thought this is unexpected. He thought they were just a bunch of ignorant soldiers. After some time in the carriage, Rian thought the road is getting rougher as they go. Suddenly, she bumped into the Duke. Rian said she is sorry, and Duke asked if she is hurt. Rian replied no, she is fine. He can let go of her now. Duke told her he thinks they should stay like this. It will be more comfortable for her than the seat. Rian thought he wanted her to travel in this embarrassing position. After some time, Rian asked if he could put her down now. Duke replied that the magic that flows from that gate can disarrange the energy inside one's body. It's not uncommon for first-time travelers to feel dizzy or even lose consciousness, so for her own safety, he thinks it would be best for them to cross through the gate like this. Rian thought she is the new Grand Duchess, so she can't faint while crossing through this gate. Duke told her from here on, they must travel by horseback because of the snow. Rian asked if something is blocking the snowstorm. Is this a barrier? Duke replied, that's correct. Rian thought she can see it now, so this is Mohane's. Duke asked if she felt dizzy when they crossed the barrier. Rian replied no. She was surprised that she felt nothing at all. Duke stated, that's a relief. He will order his servants to pay special attention to her clothes until she gets used to this climate. Rian thought she is cold. Her legs and back hurt too. Duke thought he better hurry up. In the palace, Duke stated, bring him some warm water. Cluzent, the chief attendant, spoke. If this was an emergency, he would have asked for a doctor. She is certain the Grand Duchess is fine. So return to their posts and await their orders. Also, bring that water. In the room, Rian asked if she must have pushed him too hard. If she was not so bad, she didn't faint after all. Duke replied he is sure she expected this when she decided to come here. Getting used to the cold is something he can do for her. She must endure this all on her own. Cluzent came and introduced herself and told her she brings the warm water. Rian thought the whispers. When will the first wife die? Who knows? They wish she would have died already. The head maid spoke. Everyone is excited to welcome her here, Rian stated. For some reason, she feels touched. None of his staff seem to feel contempt or resentment toward her. They will be able to get along, won't they? Duke replied, of course. There is something he needs to tell her before dinner. Starting tonight, he will be away for a while. The heart of Belgor's forest will open its soul, so he needs to be in the middle of the forest and wait. Rian said she had heard about this. It's supposed to be a gap where the monsters can enter through. Duke replied, that's right. In the northern mountains, there is a forest made of Belgor's trees that never freeze. Once every 6 months, the ground in the middle of the forest cracks open, and countless dark red monsters swarm out from it along with red sand. He knows this is her first day here, but this is an urgent matter he can't ignore. He apologizes. Rian speaks. Mohane's is on the frontier, after all. She thought this was one of the reasons why the Emperor could not eliminate this house. The monsters of this forest are stronger than average. Only the head of this house and his knights can defeat these monsters. The Emperor aims to find out how this is done so that this house will no longer be necessary. She asks if he has ever gotten hurt. Duke replies he has never been injured before. Rian stated he must not get hurt in the future either. Duke tells her a rare flower blooms in the middle of the forest. Its petals are clear and as hard as ice, which is why it's called the ice flower. After they eliminate all the monsters and the forest hole closes, he will bring her that flower. Rian replies yes, she will wait for him, and thinks because her life depends on him. Then at dinner, Duke speaks. Please give the Grand Duchess fruit juice instead of wine. Rian asks His Grace why she can drink wine. Duke replies anyone can drink it if they want to. He needs to make it very clear to her that from now on she must never drink. Rian asks, is this about that night when they drank wine together? Did she do something wrong that night? Duke did not reply. After some time, Duke speaks. He will let the butler know about decorating the residence. She is now the lady of the house, so she is welcome to decorate it to her taste. Rian replies no thanks. He knows what's to come. She will be leaving in 3 years. She won't leave anything behind. The next scene, Rian is taking a bath. She asks Nal could she send a message to the butler in Viscount residence, asking him to take care of the things she left there. Please also let him know that she is grateful for his help. Nal thought how should she tell her? On the day the princess was dragged back to the palace, the butler and imperial guard, who helped her escape, as well as the knights and the maids the emperor sent, were all executed for failing to look after the princess. Rian speaks, so that's how thing gone. Rian thought sometimes she wonders if these peaceful days will someday make her relaxed enough to forget about her revenge, but then her enemies do something like this to remind her of what she must. After some time, Rian thought Duke said he was heading out to the forest today. She wished he had come to her to say his farewell. She guesses he is leaving now. Oh no. Their eyes met. Please return safely. Rian asks is there something she can do within her authority to learn about Mohanes. Jarrett replies how about she tries the library. Rian asks could he recommend an easy book that explains the basic information about Mohanes. That was the book of Old Tales of Mohanes. 3 days later. Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.